We're live. We're rolling. Let's go. All right, cool. Guys, welcome to the Legacy Minds podcast. We've got Kyle Ingle with us today. Kyle and I became friends about a month and a half ago.
45 days ago.
Yeah, 45 days ago. And we became best friends in the last 45 days. You know, you meet your soulmate, and it just happens so fast.
It's quick.
Yeah, it's quick. We're first podcast recording in the new studio.
It's beautiful.
It's really cool. It is beautiful.
It's sick.
It's a sauna. The cool thing about our new studio, guys, is where our new gym is. We don't have any air conditioning, and it's the dead of summer. So in a black room, a black building, wearing black, black and 10,000 shorts.
Yep.
Are we still matching shorts today?
You
took yours off?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, next time. So Kyle is an Army veteran, family man, business owner. Tell us who Kyle Ingle is.
Yeah, that's a long story. I'm sure we've all have a long story, but we'll just kick it back. You know, from the beginning, from the get-go. Grew up when my mom found out she was pregnant. My dad stepped out of the picture, and it's one of those things. It's a blessing and a curse in different areas in different ways. So raised by my mother, and then she had married. Then later on, so my stepfather stepped in. Mm-hmm. He was not really involved in my life though at all. I think it was still I was very much a stepson, if that makes sense. And but we grew up in the country, had an awesome childhood. I don't have any complaints. Very lower middle class. Stepdad worked in a factory. Mom worked in a warehouse. So had a good time doing that stuff. Grew up in the country, just doing all of those things.
Good
right?
Lifestyle,
yeah. Growing up, figuring out school, hard knocks, all of that great stuff. Mm-hmm. And we came to a fork in the road where my mom was like, hey, look, you either need to go high school. We're coming up on graduation. I was never the A student. I was never the star athlete. I could do all of it, but I was never the greatest at any of it.
Yeah.
And mom was like, hey, we need to figure out what you're doing after high school. You're either going to go work in a factory, where your stepdad is, you're going to go into the military, or you're going to head off to college. So which one of those, we got to have a plan that what are you going to do?
Yeah. And
I knew college was not going to be my jam. But that was the first thought. And I was like, I'll just probably do the college thing. It's what my friends are doing. They're all going to go party. It'll be great. So partied through, I should say, my SAT.
Yeah.
You sign up for those things. So partied through that, missed it. Okay, no problem. Reschedule the next one. And it was finally, we're at the last one for me to get enrolled into this first semester of college. And I did the same thing. I partied all night, missed the SAT opportunity, which, again, it's one of those blessing and a curse. The road will lead you in mysterious ways, but ultimately you get to where you're supposed to go. And I was at a high school football game, and the recruiter said, hey, you should come join the Army. And me and one of my best friends at the time, he said, if you can make us Army Rangers, we're in. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, dude. That sounds great. Right? We'd seen the little videos on YouTube.
Right?
Yeah, let's do it. So the turn went there. We signed up. Mom cried. She said, I thought you were going to do the
other things.
The other two options I gave you. And so no, Mom, we're shipping off, and as soon as we graduate, we ship out of here. We're going to basic training. I signed up as a scout, so I was in a scout platoon, got to do a whole bunch of cool stuff, travel the world. Obviously, I was in Korea for a year, right on the border of North and South Korea, and then hung out there for a year, went to Fort Carson in Colorado, and then got deployed to Iraq from there. And oddly enough, I run into one of my best friends who I enlisted with at the time. We both enlisted, both went separate directions, different occupations inside the military. We're in Iraq, show up in the same base at the same time, so we got to see each other, hang out there. And then we came home from Iraq, and I kind of went the entrepreneurial route. I was bouncing job to job, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was a sergeant in the Army, so the military spent a whole bunch of money, time, effort, energy to train me on what leadership is. Yeah. And what I knew what it was, and what I was finding in the workforce was not leadership. It was very much management. Do this. I didn't have a say. I had no authority. I had nothing. It was just do it this way, and that's all. Mm-hmm. And don't ask questions. And it wasn't working for me. I was drinking every single night. New husband, new dad, drinking Jim Beam like it was water every single night. Because I was working.
You didn't even have taste in whiskey then, did you?
No, certainly not Jim Beam at that. But it's just Jim Beam and Dr. Pepper. I'll never forget it. And that was the go-to every single night, because it was that was what I was using to kind of numb my frustrations and my confusion and my lack of clarity of what I wanted to do. How do I father? I've never even had a father, so I didn't know how to parent this little creature that we brought into the world. Jen and I's marriage was not doing super amazing either, because I was just deployed in Colorado for the last year. Yeah. And so now it's we come home and we're two forces colliding, and we've got a kid into this mix. So we're going through all of these things and drinking every single night just to try and numb the pain, fall asleep, call it what you want, because I was working at that time. We were working at the as a corrections officer, and I was working in like a manufacturing shipping warehouse, just trying to make enough money to make things meet.
You were doing both at the same time?
Yeah, so I was working corrections 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then sometimes we'd be stuck on like mandatory overtime till 3 a.m. And then 7 a.m. I was in the shipping warehouse boxing up shirts and hats and stuff like that and shipping it off till noon to 2. I would I'd have a little break there, and then I'd go 2 o'clock roll call for the county jail. And then Jenna's going to school full time. Jenna's a rock and roll radio DJ.
That's
new
cool.
mom, right? It's like it's cool, but it paid like $27,000 a year, so it's like it's cool on paper.
Yeah.
Right, so this is this is life. Like this is what we're supposed to be doing. Like there's got to be something more out there. There's got to be a better opportunity, something we can do and be our own boss and have time freedom or build time freedom, earn time freedom versus just clock in, clock out, and work sun up to sundown, and have more of a purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like that's where kind of our journey led us into entrepreneurial world, into just being able to be of service to other people, figuring out what problems do people have and how can we solve them. And we've been self-employed now for the last 10 years this September.
That's awesome.
And right, it's like unbelievable. We've been talking about it this morning of just time freedom, time flexibility, working when you decide to work. Though we're working very hard inside of those hours, we've got opportunities to be able to shift around and move the schedule.
Well, when you do what you love, you never have to feel like you have to retire, right? You just keep going until you can't anymore.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the beauty of it is having fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And before it was like there was nothing fun about. And I mean, anybody listening to this can most people I think statistically can understand. Like man, like I remember working for Friday, dreading Sunday because I knew Monday was to follow.
Yeah.
And it was just like this cannot be. This doesn't make sense.
We've all
this
been
is
there.
life.
Yeah, we've all been there, and that's not a life to live. Why stay stuck in that if that's how you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was it, right? It was like I saw an opportunity. I knew there had to be an opportunity. I didn't see it. I didn't know what it was. It was just like I think the moral of that is just like I was facing in the right direction. I was searching. I was looking for something. Jim Rohn says like knock on enough doors, one will open.
Yeah.
And so it's like we were just looking and knocking on enough doors and like facing in the right direction. And we knew if we were facing in the right direction, we'd find what we were looking for.
Yeah.
Without even at the time, of course, it sounds so profound. At the time, we had no idea we were knocking on doors and facing in the right direction. At that time, it was just like we're just like. Question. There's got to be something more out there for us to do, to have, and become.
Yeah.
So,
So, rewind it a little bit to becoming a new dad, becoming a husband.
Yeah.
You didn't have that example, right?
Yeah.
How did you learn how to become a father and learn how to become a husband?
By failing forward without a doubt, a handful of things, right? So it's like first thing I would say is my grandpa was the man in my life who stepped in and raised me.
Okay.
And he bridged that gap. Awesome human being. We lost him a couple of years ago, right? And it was like losing a dad.
Yeah.
So very profound and grateful for all of the lessons.
That was your mom's dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so grateful for all of those lessons that he taught me over that 30 years or so.
Yeah.
And then secondly would be for sure my wife's dad. He really did an awesome job filling that role as well. And just teaching me early on. I remember sitting in his garage when like Jen and I were fighting in an argument, just like talking to me about like how to work through this stuff and how to navigate these waters because I had no idea and nobody to go to. So he taught me an immense amount. And then honestly, it's like my relationship with Jenna, with my wife. She is one of my biggest advocates, and she will help coach me inside of these moments to where it's like maybe you're too aggressive or maybe you blew up too much or whatever the situation was, or like, hey, like babe, like I saw how you handled that. That was so hot, like, right? So it's like I think so many guys don't know this that this is a secret. Like,
oh yeah,
women
being
are
a good
so
dad
profoundly attracted to a good father.
Yeah.
Someone that can be there and instead of like, just disciplining the kids or always being the authoritarian person, it's like you can be all of those things and still have some compassion and still have the empathy and still, teach them the things that I didn't get taught. That's one of the coolest things. I mean, you as well grew up without a father. It's like the coolest thing we get to do is to teach our kids the things that nobody taught us. And we get to do it at 5, 9, 10. I learned it at 30.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like imagine how much we get to set them up. So that's why I always say it's like it's a blessing and a curse. Growing up without a father, where could I be? Who knows? But I can tell you, I know for a fact where I'd be if my biological father stayed in my life, and I wouldn't be sitting here living this lifestyle. I can promise that.
Yeah. No, that's the complete truth. And for me, where I learned how to father is by watching my brother, by watching my best friend Jesse, by watching my wife's dad, and he was one I didn't appreciate a lot at first because he's a much more laid back individual than I am, right? And as I grew as a father, I look at this man and I'm like, this dude will do anything to serve his family and love his family, and that's honorable, and through the Bible, honestly, like that's where I learned a lot of my parenting. Now, the problem for me early on is, okay, I'm law driven. I haven't accepted grace yet, and I'm like, well, this is what the Bible says. We have to do it like this, exactly like this, right? And the Bible it's a good rule for life, but you got to figure things out that work for your family, right? And if you're living in pursuit of that true north, that may not be the same thing for everybody, but if you're living in pursuit of that, your family's going to fall into place, right? And you're gonna find those roles that you fit into with your spouse, and so it took me many years to figure that out. And I use the Bible out of context sometimes, trying to gain control of my marriage, being a father. But yeah, that's where I learned a lot of that, and coming into my 30s now, it's like it clicks more, especially when you add grace into that, So
that's so good into your 30s. I thought when I turned 30, I felt like this snap happened. It's like, wow, you have operated the last 29 years knowing absolutely nothing, yet you thought you knew so much. Like, I don't know what it was about 30, and that got me so excited for 40. If it's like something about the decade change, it's like, dude, if I thought I knew stuff at 29 or all these years prior, I thought I was a good dad, I thought I was a good husband, I thought I was a good entrepreneur, a good business owner. And now I just realized I'm not. Yeah. But now I am, and I can be. It's like I'm going to be 40 in 8 years or whatever. Like? Right. I'm going to look back and say, like, you were 30 and you thought you had to figure it out. Yeah. That's so cute.
Yeah, that's so cute. Oh, I look back at 20-year-old Will, and I'm like, man, what an asshole.
Don't stay there too long.
Yeah, don't stay there long at all. Yeah. It's funny. I don't understand how people relive their glory days, because I look back on that, and I'm like, sure, high school was a great time. Had fun, no cares in the world, right? Got into trouble. I get into college, and I have kids real young, I didn't finish school because I wanted to work. I was not a school person either, and it's funny that two entrepreneurs that didn't finish college or do college, and looking where we're at now, sure, we're not billionaires. We were talking about that earlier, right? But we're living lives, and we've designed our lives around how we want to live, and the finances come, you figure it out, and God provides. Yeah, that is pretty cool though. But yeah, I mean, going back to having a father, what does that look like? I've seen many people get screwed up by their fathers because their fathers weren't intentional, they weren't around, or they were there but they weren't present. And how much worse could that have been? I've pursued, or where I was going with talking about the faith thing is, for me, I put my faith in, or my, I kind of made God my father early on, and that's where I tried to learn from, tried to live from, and so it allowed me to put a lot more confidence in him at a younger age, because I didn't have that physical earthly father, but then you find these other mentors, and I was very blessed to my brother. Not everybody knows this, but he's not my biological brother. And we, now we've been brothers 23 years, but he was originally paired with me through Big Brothers Big Sisters, with the second longest standing relationship in Indianapolis with that, which is pretty cool. And that's a whole other story about how we found that out. But we haven't been in the program for 20 years, but we have coffee every Wednesday, and he has been a huge mentor in my faith, in business, in life. And again, somebody I didn't necessarily appreciate until I had kids, or I appreciated him, but I didn't, or I took it for granted, right?
Totally.
And then when I had kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a man to learn from, It was, anyways. So
I think anybody has that hindsight, though. It's like I'm talking about like my grandfather, and it's just like same thing. And it's like I was operating my 20s. I had no clue. I didn't see the silver the lessons that were being taught in the how to tie a fishing hook. I didn't see it all then. And it's like now he's gone, unfortunately, but I see it. I've got the clarity, and now I can pass it along to the boys and just explain it to them a little bit differently, refer to it a little bit differently, to hopefully they can catch the lesson a little bit quicker.
And, and if they figure that out sooner, how much more can they figure out sooner, right?
Totally. Yeah. Children, that's one of the biggest things that has probably changed my parenting, is understanding that kids don't lack capacity, they just lack a teacher. How often is it, I mean, I'm guilty, I'll raise my hand first one, myself and my wife. One of the greatest things we ever did was like removing like iPads and devices from their life freely, not to like cast shame on any devices. They certainly serve a value. But it was like the unfiltered, lens that they were allowed to have access to the world that made them act out. It made them crazy. It made them hearing things and saying things that at that age they should not even know about. I certainly didn't know about it until 20 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so they had so much access to information. And then when the device was removed, like they would act out so much. And it was just like, wow, like this is really interesting. You start like analyzing this stuff. But I think it's very easy, especially for today's parents. Like we're always on the go. We're always busy, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're employed somewhere. It's like, it's very easy to fall back on that. Like here, just
be quiet.
Yeah,
let me work out, or let me, let me do whatever.
Freaking think, or, cook dinner and like all of this. And again, there's a time and place, 100%, never bashing, anyone as a parent on this, but it's like I didn't know until I knew, and then it's like, oh, yeah, like how he's acting out and how he's responding to me and the language he's using. Oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and it leads to ADD and ADHD, right? Which I have arguments against that, because I do feel like ADD and ADHD can be a superpower if harnessed.
No question.
If we had our son, he'd probably get, or if we took him in, he'd probably get diagnosed for it. But it's like, no, I'm not gonna medicate that. I'm just gonna direct that
channel
energy.
It exactly.
And you have to be, the easy thing to do is go, hey, take this pill, shut up. No, but you don't want easy. Easy doesn't do anything good for anyone, ever. Right? And if you can learn to channel that at a young age, sure, sometimes it's frustrating, but you learn how to channel that at a young age. Just imagine what they're capable of when they get older and they know how to harness that energy. It's pretty exciting to think about. So coming up to, you and Jenna have kids, you're knocking on doors. Where does that lead you to next?
Yeah, so we first get started in health and nutrition. That was like, I was a scout in the Army. I was in great shape, 220 pounds, kicking down doors, jumping out of helicopters, having a great time, like living that lifestyle.
Doing the badass things.
Yeah, it certainly wore on my body at such a young age. I had a lot of aches and pains, even in the 20s, right? So it's like I went from working out 2 times a day in the scout platoon to now working 2 jobs, dad, husband, so not working out at all, drinking every single night. And it's like, what's the first thing? It always just goes back. Like, what can I control out of all of this? This is all chaos. None of it's working. This can't be life. What can I control? And it's like, well, I probably control like what I put in my freaking face. I can probably control not drinking every night and looking for other ways to solve my problems and creating extra time inside of my day. Now all of a sudden I've got time to work out. Now I've got energy to work out. Right? It's very interesting. It's like I start focusing on like, okay, instead of going to the break room and smashing all the donuts and cookies and whatever people brought in, because it's like, right, they're free. I heard Jocko, Discipline Equals Freedom, is Sugar-Coated Lies chapter. Yeah. He's like, but they're free, the glorious glaze. He's like, and it's like, I heard that and I was like, wow, like that's so true. I don't have to eat it just because it's free and I'm broke and we don't have that much food at home. Yeah, like I can just not eat it.
Just don't eat.
And so it just started that process. Started feeling good. Started showing up better. Got involved into a nutrition company, and we really just ran that. We saw the opportunity. Here's what we were told. We weren't afraid of hard work. We knew that for a fact. We were working as hard as we possibly could, and nothing was changing. Money wasn't changing. Housing wasn't changing, still in the same apartment, still the same debt collectors calling. We were exposed to an opportunity inside of health and nutrition. It was just like, hey, like, look, there's no cap. It's sales-based. You can earn as much as you want. You can take this thing as far as you want. There's no glass ceiling. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or girl, what you believe in, who you love. None of that stuff. It doesn't matter. I said, what's the catch? Like, there's no catch. Like, you just need to go freaking work. And I was like, well, we don't have a problem with working. Like, so great. Right, so
we get out of it what you put in, though.
100%, right? It's like, what an interesting philosophy of life. Yeah. You get out what you put in, right? Going back to the convo with kids, like, an easy childhood is probably going to mean a harder lifestyle. Not that you need to impose difficulty necessarily or inherently on kids, but it's like, give them a little bit of challenge. Like, that's how I grew up. Yeah, that's how you grow up with that through the adversity, 100%. So we ran that, scaled that. We've been doing that for the last 10 years. Brick and mortar, we've got just around 30 brick and mortar locations throughout Michigan, Indiana, and Kentucky, and just crushing it and having a great time doing it and building it some with our best friends. That's like the coolest part. Like, we got some of our greatest friends that we get to help now go win and crush it and scale their stores and scale their operations. So it's been a good ride.
I met one of those friends, Luke. Shout out to Luke.
Yeah.
What's Luke's last name?
Minnesota, Popham.
That's right. Popham. I like that last name.
You met him around, it was probably pretty early when you met him still.
Yeah.
It wasn't 1 a.m. on a 50-mile rug march.
No, when did we meet him? So guys, Kyle and I, we
hold on. Okay, so I me and Will meet June 1st, right? And
he's got our anniversary down.
I've got the anniversary down, right? It was the first day that Jake came to kids class, kids CrossFit, right? And we start talking because we're both wearing the same 10,000 shorts, which are rare in the wild. I always say, like, oh, look at those things. They're in the wild. And we start talking, and it's like, next thing you know, I'm just like, dude, I'm doing this 50-mile ruck march in 23 days. Like, you should totally do it with me. And he's like, I'm in. In the back of my mind, I was like,
he's going to bail.
Probably going to bail.
Yeah.
Like, it's 23 days.
Yeah.
And a week later, sure as shit, you're just like, all right, got signed up.
Yep.
Like, dang.
Let's do it.
And you said it before you even got signed up. You're like, dude, listen, I'm going to do it. I'm a man of my word.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, like, test this out. Let's see if he is. And you showed up. Not only did you sign up, then you showed up on the start line. You actually showed up too, right? There's these phases that people can weed themselves out, and people paid and didn't show, right? On a 50-mile. And you were there, so that's what kicked it off. That's where you met Luke.
That's where I met
who
Luke.
Was running in late, flying in from Minnesota just to be there with us.
Yeah,
so that was sweet.
Man. And that was cool because Kyle held back, and I was walking with Tyler.
Oh yeah,
and we're walking and talking and having a great conversation. I look back and I'm like, where the hell did Kyle go? And then they're like, oh, Kyle's he's waiting back for his friend. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, next thing we know, it was maybe 2 hours in, we see you guys coming up, running from behind. So how many miles did you guys run with the 40-pound ruck on your back?
I don't know. I really don't know. We
it was at least 2 or 3.
We were doing I think it was right around 2 or 3.
It was at least 2 or 3 because we had been walking
about
an
hour. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and we were, just at a speedway at that point, finally on the canal trail. And we see them come up behind us, and we're walking with Chad Connolly, who will be his interview will be released here in a couple of weeks. And we'll let Chad tell the story of this 50-mile ruck, but it's really cool. And then really, I feel like that's where we there's a bond built there, right? 100%. Through everybody in that, Luke and you, me, Chad, some of the other dudes that were on that trip as well, because that's suffering, man, and it's suffering by choice. Like we got to mile 15 after that first break. We sat down and ate some pizza. Poor Tyler, man, crammed down 5 pieces of pizza.
I ate 2 pieces of pizza, right? So we get refueled, right? If everybody listening, you get refueled up. High calories, you need a lot of food.
We'd already chugged down all the electrolytes we had in our bag at that point. You're refilling at 10 miles.
Because you got to stay ahead of the fatigue and ahead of that curve, right? So it's like the pizza was so good because it was probably, I don't know, 9 o'clock at night or so.
It was dark.
Then. It was dark.
So
it was probably
10.
So it was dark, and so that was dinner. I ate 2 pieces, and we're walking after the crew packs up the pizza. We're walking. I'm like, man, I wish I would have had one more pizza. I was just like, I was nervous if I would have had one more slice. Like, I don't want to get a stomach ache out here on mile 10. Tyler's like, I had 5. I was like, bro, what?
And then just a couple miles later, he's like, oh, I don't feel so good.
Bending over.
Man, poor Tyler. He's what, 25, 26 still?
I think so.
He hasn't learned those lessons yet.
Right.
He just did.
It's all valuable, right? It's like once you've been where I've at, you'll know where I've been type thing.
But it was after that, so we get up and I'm like, oh man, I'm already stiff. Why am I stiff at 10 miles? And 15 miles.
Probably because you didn't do anything but sign up 2 weeks before.
Well, and I did like some training with my vest on for the next 2 weeks, but that was really it, right? And it wasn't long training. It was like a Metcon with my vest on, And so we get 15 miles in, and I'm like, oh shit, there go my feet. Like blisters started boiling up, and that's when right there when I was like, this is gonna be a long night, man.
Right, because we were going 6 p.m. to we finished at 1 p.m. the next day, no sleep, right?
Yeah, and we keep going. We had our couple of breaks. Mile 20, I think, was the worst because that's when my calves locked up. And then coming back, it was like, okay, we're moving, And you and I chatted for a while after mile 25. That was funny because we're parked outside of somebody's house at 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
In Westfield.
Yep.
And their son comes home.
Yep.
I'm like, he's sneaking back in.
3 a.m.
Yeah. The alarm goes off.
Yep.
And we're like, all right, time to go. Load up, guys. Let's go.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation heading back, and you made it the whole way with that pack on, man. I was
mile 40.
I took mine off. That's right.
We went
to
mile 40. Downloaded at 40.
I took my weight off at 20.
Yeah.
And then at mile 40 is when I went toast.
40 was nasty.
I went toast at mile 40.
We took a shot of some whiskey at mile 40.
Maybe that's what I should have done.
Yeah.
Except that's when my stomach started.
I was gonna say maybe not.
Like, who knows?
It got pretty sketchy.
But we got out. We finished. Yeah. It was great, man. It was awesome. It was a cool time. Yeah.
But, that's it, right? So it's like that. Like you can hear the story of the 50 mile and like all of the memories and things that occurred on it. But it's like there's something so magical that is formed when people do hard shit together. and it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, but it's like from speaking from the lens of a man, it's like that's all I can speak of. And it's like how many thousands of years ago, it's like we proved ourselves as men through hunting, through fighting, through wars against other tribes or whatever, family, right? Exactly. And it's like we've lost that through the ages of society. It's like we don't have to do any of that anymore, and so therefore you don't have to ever prove yourself.
Well, you don't have to do hard shit.
Right, it's voluntary. You had to. It was 100 years ago. You had to.
You have the option to sit at home. You have the option to ride a fucking electric bicycle up the Monon. That blows me away when I see people riding their bike on the and riding those and don't get me wrong, they're kind of cool.
Sure,
but like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
we're making ourselves softer and softer, and then you don't even have to go to the grocery anymore. No. We're not only not hunting and farming our food, but now we are too lazy to go get it from the store.
And they get mad when they're looking at their DoorDash and it's like your burrito's 5 stops away. Still like, gosh, it's been there for a minute. Like what? And they're getting angry. It's like, hey, dude, cool. Like, good thing you don't have to go find a burrito in the wild.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
I don't know where those grow.
So why was 50 for the Fallen so like meaningful to you and impactful for you?
Unfortunately, I've lost more friends outside of combat than in combat through veteran suicide. And going back to the story, I had to kind of curb it because I got a little emotional there. So I kind of skirted around it a little bit. But my friend Adam, who I had enlisted with, who we went to basic training with, we ran into each other in Iraq. It's an anomaly to do that. People are like, oh, do you know so-and-so in the Army? And it's like, dude, there's like, I don't know, a couple 100,000 people. I don't know your cousin. But so for us to cross paths, different units, different missions and everything was a super rare thing. And then we both came home. We both ended up going to a bar shortly after. We told stories and laughed and drank till 3 a.m. Had a stranger that overheard our convo, heard that we both got back from Iraq, and then he put his card on our tab and ended up covering the whole tab at 3 a.m. we found out, which was super awesome.
That's cool.
And then shortly after that, Adam took his life. No one had a clue. No one saw it coming. So that was like the first iteration of losing a friend, and I've lost several others since then. So when I saw the opportunity of 50 for Fallen, I saw what Chad was doing in several different big cities and states, and I couldn't make any of those events. I just reached out to him on Instagram, said, hey, dude, I want to bring this to Indy. Is there anything I can do to help make that happen? I'm your source, boots on the ground. Give me a shout. Yeah. And he's like, let's do it. Call me.
Yeah.
And then
what was that, 3 months later?
70 days later, here we were making it happen.
Rocking down the Monon.
Yeah.
There are prettier places to do this. Maybe next time we go to Colorado for that.
Colorado would be good.
Although for the first one, that would have been awful.
Yeah.
Going uphill like that.
Elevation, yeah.
Well, and we're going to have to even plan out, the next adventure next year.
Yep.
That 80-mile paddleboard.
We're paddling.
We're coming for it. I want to do it, man. So where you're at now in life, you've got your nutrition shop or the smoothie shop. And tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with that, and then what you're focusing on now as well.
That's a good question. So I would say at this stage of our business, we're very much like focused on working with and growing and mentoring our team and our organization of these 30 shops and helping them maximize everything, profitability, margins, grow, scale their own locations, several into multiple other cities or multiple other states. So it's very much a mentorship and coaching role.
Yeah.
So that's really like the biggest consumer of my time is just helping other people win. It's probably also interestingly enough one of the most rewarding things that we've done is we've grinded our faces off for the last 10 years. The first 5 specifically was very much like all day, all night, minimal sleep, minimal family time, just going all in because it's like, well, it's going to take a certain amount of work and time and effort regardless. So if I can condense the window at which it takes to get there, then we're going to make those sacrifices worth it. And that's the thing is I talk to a lot of our team members and other entrepreneurs. It's like, hey, look, the sacrifice is the sacrifice. You get to choose if it's going to take 2 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
You can compress time by getting strategic and getting smart inside of your day versus getting stuck scrolling or getting stuck doing this or getting stuck doing that. Because the reality is like people are always wanting balance. Like, well, I need to have family time. And it's like, no. I had no balance. We had no balance for a long time. And then we could then create a lifestyle more so than a balance. It's like, hey, like we were just camping for 3 or 4 days out in the boonies. It's like we work a little bit every day. Other people, like you might, we're going to take the week off for vacation. It's like, well, that's great, but that's a week not getting ahead.
Right.
Like that's not a week getting behind. That's in today's marketplace. I mean, how fast is the world moving? A week taking a week off is no longer losing a week. You could lose a month
Yeah.
over the course of not working for a week, right? Speaking on entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So it's like just getting really aggressive and teaching all of that stuff to our team and to our organization to continue to duplicate and create and go from 30 to 60 to eventually 100 locations throughout the Midwest and
That's cool.
wherever else we wind up on the old map. So that's kind of the focus.
And then part of that is doing some, health coaching, personal training kind of.
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Tell us more about that.
So I do a lot of like online coaching with specifically typically men. 99.9% of the people are men, and it's mostly online because that's just like the demographic that tends to reach out to me. Is guys just all over the place that are usually solo, kind of hanging out by themselves and not having community, not having connection, not having a place of belonging, not having the brotherhood, right? They need those things. So inside of my coaching program, I meet twice a month with the guys individually, like one-on-one coaching. And I was like, hey, like we can talk about whatever. Yeah. I can coach you on nutrition. We can talk about fitness, or like we can talk about your business, or we can talk about your nutrition or your family, or we can talk about your whatever, right? It's an open convo. And then we do like one coaching call per month with a whole group of guys that will bring in different people for that stuff based on kind of what the group and the organization needs and what they need to hear. So helping dudes across the globe, across the country, soon to be the globe.
There you
go. Just figure out what they want out of life.
Who's an ideal client for something like that?
Ideal client is either a veteran, a former athlete, or just a dad who wants more out of life. And is riding the scooter on the Mona, on the electric scooter, right? It's like, as silly as that is, but that's like, it's like they know they just need to be shown like there's a place for them, and they're not broken, they're not wrong, they're not anything. It's just like you just need to get around the right people. And I think so often it's easy to fall inside of our peer group because we're only going to reach the expectations of our peer group. Yeah. Why do you think this 5 people you hang around with is like, we all hear the quote, but it's like if you ever think about it, it's like, well, because the reason you're going to become those 5 people is you're never going to exceed the standards set inside of that group. So until you get out of that group, and not that you have to leave them, not that they're not the amazing human beings, but it's like if you want more out of life, like we got to get out of that circle and get into a new one. And that's not easy. And sometimes it starts with just getting in an online program, meeting some dudes, meeting me, meeting dudes like you, right? So I think that's what's important is leaving the old stories. Like if you're with the people, whoever you're hanging out with, if you're always talking about like, remember back in blah, 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 and like your stories are always on the past, then it's like, then you're just continuing to relive your past. And what are you building for your future?
You're around the wrong people.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, we were talking earlier, right? We were talking about wives love when you can be like an awesome father. Yeah. It's like, well, do you know what else they love? When you're freaking in awesome shape and an awesome father, and you're holding one kid here and you're hoisting the other kid up to the monkey bars and helping them do that. Like,
and teaching them how to be that. Yeah, like guys, the dad bod, it's overrated, and women don't find that attractive. Yeah. I mean, they may tell you that, but it's like them asking, "Hey, do I look fat in this?" And you say, "No, honey."
Here's what's interesting with and I've gotten yelled at for this.
Oh boy, here we go. Good story.
But it's listen. Here's the thing: is like I'll always shoot it straight. I'll never disrespect anybody. Yeah. But I won't not tell them. You can
shoot people straight and still be respectful.
Yeah, because I love them. Like, and this could be any stranger that we come across. Like if they, and I'm not gonna just walk around blasting people, right? There's got to be a relationship there. But it's like the reality
you
is
earn a right
100%
to speak truth.
Yeah, 100%. But any guy that thinks his wife likes the dad bod, it's probably because of her insecurity and thinking if he gets in shape, he's going to find something better. He's going to leave me. Or why are you working out? Who are you trying to impress?
So it's comfort.
It can be, if the wife isn't on board, that's why, like, when I work with guys, I'm like, where's your wife? Like, we need to get her locked in with my wife, and you guys can crush this household together. Otherwise, there's going to be a division betwing you guys. Yeah. And she's going to be saying, like, babe, like, let's get the ice cream, because she knows you're on a diet. She knows you're looking good. And if she's not, and it also works conversely. My wife gets a female client, and I'm like, hey, what's the deal with the husband? And that's how it usually is. Husbands are way slower, way more resistant usually.
There's more pride there.
100%.
Right? No, I'm showing up I'm going to LA Fitness and, doing my curls 5 days a week.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, you can ask the question. It's like, well, awesome, dude. Great. How's it working for you? Like, what are your goals? And it's like, well, that's a good question, right? Because it's like,
I haven't hit any of them yet.
It's a straight question. Yeah. Like, awesome. How long have you been doing that for? 2 months. Sweet. How's it going for you? I guess it's going okay. Cool. What are your goals? Yeah. I'd like to lose 40 pounds. Dude, I love it. I help people lose 40 pounds all the time. When do you want to lose 40 pounds by? By Christmas. Like, cool. Great goal. Plenty of time to hit that. What are you doing proactively? Like, what are you trying to do, and what have you done in the past, and why hasn't it worked? Just like asking him those questions, like, well, I tried X, Y, Z, and it didn't work because I just couldn't stay consistent. Like, awesome, dude, I feel you on the consistency. I feel you on not understanding how to work out. Like, if I could show you a way to dial in the consistency, have ultimate 24/7 accountability, and workouts delivered to your phone every day, plus me, like, was that something you'd be interested in? I was like, yeah.
Easy.
All right, great. Like, well, let's do this then.
Now, are these guys that you're working with, are they typically isolated? Is that, like not able to go to a gym, or maybe just not confident enough to go to a gym?
Yeah, that's it right there.
Because I feel like a lot of people we have come in here to Legacy Athletics is, new people coming in that have never. And what we want to do is we don't want to pull from the CrossFit community around us.
Yeah.
We want to add to it, right? Because that's what's gonna build more strong humans.
So there's more than a need for that.
Yeah, and there's definitely more. So with that they come in and, oh man, can I do this yet? It's like, well, yeah, you can, and we can scale it appropriately
exactly.
to build you up to this. But then they're afraid to come in here because they're afraid of, they're gonna see the yous and the me's, right? And it's like, guys, we're friendly. We don't bite, one. But two, we're not the majority. We are
doing this for
the
15,
minority.
20 years.
Yeah. There's a reason we're good, and now it's like, it's fun for us because we're good at it, right? Yep. So, and I heard something the other day about how, like, when you, like, now for us, the gym can almost become a crutch because we're at the top of our game in here. Yeah. But then we use it to hide from other things, And, oh man, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and they were saying, like, the guy who pulls up in the Mercedes wishes he could be the 23-year-old that's focusing on just being an athlete. And the guy with the 23-year-old that's the athlete wishes he could be driving the Mercedes, right? But the guy getting out of the Mercedes is all broken down, stiff, barely can move, and the young guy with no responsibilities is able to train 4 times a day and have his diet locked in and not have any stress, of kids or a wife or anything like that. He wants that. You always want what you can't have. But, you can have both. You can be successful. You can be well-rounded. And that actually goes back to the whole balance thing. Like somebody that let's say, coming into your business. If they have a family, what's the coaching there? I'm curious because, like, so many people I feel like are preaching against balance. And there are times to be unbalanced. Don't get me wrong. Like, there are times that seasons that are going to weigh more heavily business or way more heavily family. And you can't be a good husband, father, businessman. You can't be a well-rounded man if you don't put, like, sometimes if you're not providing for your family, guess what? It's time to step the fuck up and provide for your family. So you're going to have to sacrifice family time to do that. If you're providing but you're not there for your family, guess what? It's time to maybe sacrifice some finances or sacrifice some time at work, and maybe sacrifice the next promotion or whatever. It's another reason I like owning my business, because I promote myself, right? And then spend more time with your family. So how do you coach that with people you bring into your company?
Bring them in on a business level?
Bring them in on a business level.
So I think how I usually do it is exactly like you said. It's like there's going to be seasons, and the harder you work now, it's like, look, time's going to pass either way. Yeah. So you can try and balance all of it, or you can just time block things out and be strategic and specific and planned. Yeah. So it's like, you're not necessarily going to work 7 days a week for 70, 80 hours. But a lot of the times they don't realize a couple things. It's like, one, your kids don't inherently need you as much as a lot of people think they need you. Like, yes, they need you, but they also need to be figuring stuff out on their own, messing down, falling down, getting hurt, like all these important things. So it's like, they don't need you all the time. But when you're there, be there. When you're at work, be at work. Like, don't mix the two. If you're on family vacation and you're going to do a little work in the morning, like I mentioned, great, do a little work in the morning. Get up at 6 a.m., hammer it out. Kids are up, family's up, like, let's roll. Yeah. And let's go be a family. So that's it. It's just like, it's very much like the time is going to pass. So how are you going to work and to make sure you get the most out of all of it in all areas? Because I don't think you have to compromise in anything. No. I think you can be a 20, especially these days more than ever, you can be the 23-year-old in the Mercedes. Yeah. That actually has the money to pay for the Mercedes. You can
don't take out debt to do that, guys.
Yeah. You can get one of those on a car note with high interest any day.
Any day. Yeah.
So that's it. It's you can have it all. Let's design and live an extraordinary life, and here's how it's going to look. Okay, maybe for the next month we're going to be working hard like crazy, but reward yourself and enroll our family. Like, we've enrolled our kids into this process. It's like, hey, like, look, here's what mommy and daddy are doing. Here's why we're on these calls. Here's why daddy's out of town. Here's why this is happening.
In on it, right?
And now what we're going to do is in 6 months from now, right? So next summer we're going to Atlantis. Where it's already been booked. We just took them to Cabo last year. We went to Disney World, but we didn't take them. We took them camping. I picked camping over Disney World, which is super great. They had the opportunity to go to Disney with us. So it's like every year we do a big family vacation, And we just explained to them, like, hey, remember, we're going to go to Atlantis here in a couple more months. This is a part of that process to get us there. Could you please go help your brother out with this so I can finish this? Yeah. And it's like we just enroll the kids, enroll the family, enroll the parents for us, all of them into what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that way they're clear, because unspoken expectations always lead to frustrations. So if we can give them the expectations of what to expect of our workday, of our life, of our family time, of everything, then there's no frustrations into like, well, we're on vacation and you're always working. It's like, no, I'm not always working. I just do it in the morning and from this time. Yeah. But if they don't know that, then dad's on his phone again, not working. Then there's resentment and all kinds of, problems and issues can arise from that.
Yeah, but you can, as you said, bring them along with you, right? Like, my kids, we had an hour-long conversation last night. I'm putting them down to bed because I always try to do bedtime with them, and we sit down, we do devotional, we pray together. Too,
right there. One of the greatest. I don't want to cut you off. That's one of the greatest things that I started doing was having a bedtime routine with the boys, because it's such a good time to connect. I have a daughter as well for you, but it's such a good time to connect with the kids. Yeah. When everything's winded down, everything's quiet. It's like you can read the book, you can go through this. I tell all dads, they're like, okay, I'm a new dad, what do I do? I'm like, dude, cuddle with your baby on your chest, bare chest as much as you can, and start reading to him. Like, well, he can't understand what I'm saying. Like, dude, listen, doesn't matter.
He wants to hear your voice.
Dude. Just read, pick up the baby book and read the baby book before you lay him down. And that has built the most profound relationship with our boys since I started doing that. So huge.
That is huge. No, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's, me, I work 10 to 12 hours a day. Yeah. I train 90 minutes to 2 hours a day. Yeah. And, so when I get home at 5, 6 o'clock. And I am the kind that, like, my wife likes me a lot better. And distance does make the heart grow fonder if you're intentional when you're home, right? So good. And I can't be home all day, know, and that's, I have an office. I'm out and about meeting people, doing meetings, doing the thing, doing this stuff, right? If I'm not doing that, I'm not fulfilled, and then I'm not good when I get home because I feel empty, right? I feel like I'm not fulfilling my purpose, right? So, but when I do get home, I'm intentional as all get out. I am not, and of course we're not perfect, right? Yeah. Like there are nights we get home, like a Wednesday night, I did 2 training sessions. I was smoked. Like there's no glycogen left in my body. My brain barely functions at this point. I was smoked. And so, no, I wasn't very intentional. I was a little bit grumpy because I was just smoked. And, I hadn't slept well early on in the week. Anyways, you're not going to be perfect every night. You got to give yourself some grace of that because just we're human. But when you get home, you're intentional and you're spending time with the kids. My wife, she has them all day. She's homeschooling. We're starting that this year. And she's man, talk about a superhero, man. Yeah. She is there gardening with, like, they built a garden. That's sweet. They've set up the homeschool room. They've built things. They've gone and done projects. They've been super active, being intentional with the summer, right? Even though they're on summer, they're still learning. So anyways, I'm putting them down last night. We do some prayer, do some devotional, and then we start talking. And Alexa's like, okay, Dad, Wiley wants to buy a gecko. Or what are the dragons? What are
bearded dragon.
Bearded dragon. There we go. The bearded dragon is what they want. And like, okay, cool. How are we going to do that? Well, we're not buying it for you. So you guys, if you guys can buy it yourselves and 6 months of food, and then continue paying for the food, you can make this happen. All right. Well, how are we going to do that? Man, my daughter, she has got an entrepreneur's mind. Love it. And she is just like, okay, we're gonna, Dad, could I start a lawn mowing business? Yeah, go for it. You can use the mower. You got to pay for gas though. So how much are you going to charge per, and we start going through all this stuff. Yeah. Well, now they start talking, and they're like, hey, Dad, can we do a lemonade stand at the gym? And I'm like, go for it. Go for it. It's like we have these businesses. Let the kids be involved with it, man. Like they'll come in and they're going to do, set up a a booth and do lemonade stand here. Yeah. We'll throw some electrolytes in it, make it some healthy lemonade, fresh squeezed, all that, right? And they're going to earn a little money. Yeah. And then, okay, how do we use that money? How do we steward that money so that now you can level up? You can maybe go to making cookies instead, protein cookies or something, or and then save. So you're making your profit, you're building your business, you're investing into your business, and then you just keep doing this, right? And teaching them those things. Don't hand it to them. You give them a little startup cash. I'll give them a little, startup cash to get that first lemonade going, But yeah, like bring them along with you, and they see what you're doing. Explain it to them, and don't be afraid to slow down too. That's something else I've learned is like, your kids come up and go, "Hey, Dad, can I cook dinner?" You're like, "Well, it's 7:30, and I want you in bed in the next 30 minutes." Shit, no, I don't. But yes, yeah, you can help. Like let them slow down, take time, let them jump in and help.
Yeah.
It's going to be messier, it's going to be slower, but they're going to learn and they're going to develop through it, right?
Yeah. And what that does for them 10, 20 years from now, that's when it's like, that's when the real result of that extra 30 minutes of frustration comes to pay off.
Exactly.
Because the last thing I want is a dependent 20-year-old, 30-year-old who's relying on me for everything.
Aren't we seeing that right now?
100%.
You know, these wealthy families that catered in food, or, you know, they never made their kids work because they wanted to give their kids what they didn't have, right?
Right.
But there's... I don't want my kids to have what, you know, I want them to have less than I had.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want to make them work for what they have, and it doesn't mean they're not going to be rewarded for doing that.
Totally.
But they're going to work for it. They're going to have that adversity and learn how to be productive members of society, right? So that's huge.
Yeah, one thing you said very early on in this, when you started this last part of this convo, you said, if I heard it right, you said something about like you're not fulfilled if you're not making progress. Did you say something along those lines of like if you're not making forward progress, then you're not going to be and feel as fulfilled?
Yeah.
And I think you said that, I was just like, dude, I think that is, man, it is
how we're designed.
Is you need to be making progress. We were talking about that again this morning after the workout. It was just like, what's next? Like that desire of more. It's like we built this, and now it's like, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? Where can we grow? How can we help more people? How can we solve more problems? And I think so many people get stuck into depression because they're lacking purpose, they're lacking vision, they're lacking community. When you were talking about men that are kind of like more isolated or they can't make it into gym, one of the first things I always tell people is like, you need to go join a group fitness class. Like I will 100%, I'd love to give you workouts. I provide all of that, awesome workouts. But I don't feel confident giving average Joe, who's just starting his fitness plan or a workout plan, something that I'm going to be doing, or a CrossFit style of a workout. Yeah. I'm just like, no. Like, so we're going to be going to Globo Gym, and they're killer workouts, and they get totally smoked, and my dudes are getting awesome results. But there's something so magical when you can plug them into a community, a CrossFit community, or any other. They're all over the place. Go figure out what works for you, and get around other human beings that are going to cheer you on. I think that they think so often. You and I were working out the other week, and we were just pools of sweat, and a random guy walks in and is like, what are y'all doing? It's like, I was like, do you know him?
Kyle starts trying to sell him and bring him into the gym.
Like, dude, pop in.
He ran what did he ran half a mile with us. He ran half a mile, and then we're turning around and we're like, all right, man, you want to come back and do the next thing with us? Yeah. He's like, what's that? 100 burpees? He's like, I'm gonna finish my run, and he popped back through on the way. I don't know if he ever followed us,
I don't think so.
Yeah, he hasn't come back in, but you know,
if you're listening,
time to join.
But it's like guys need that. Like he had a good energy, good vibe about him. Like he's just like, it's like get around people, because again, they look at dudes like us, and it's like no ego, but it's like, oh, they're probably jerks. They're probably gonna judge me. Dude, listen, fat shaming is not a thing.
No,
like I don't know who made that up. That doesn't exist. I've never once met a fit person talk down to anybody ever who was trying to get in shape.
You've been humble, right? Like you get beat down. Yeah. You beat yourself down every day.
And that's what I was going to say.
It's humbling.
We show up and work out hard, and what's the first thing we think of? Man, I probably could have done that a little better. We're not even thinking about Joe over here. We're thinking about how we slacked, how we could have got better, how we could have done it.
Exactly.
So that's what's interesting. It's like if that's something that's holding somebody back, like that's the worst excuse you could give yourself, and you need to separate your weaker self from your actual self. And your actual self is the one that wants to go do the thing you're nervous about, who wants to go start the business, who wants to go join the gym or the CrossFit gym or lose weight. It's like and then it's like your voice. You say like, oh well, like, am I worth it? Or my spouse or my friend group are going to make fun of me. Like fit shaming is way more popular than the opposite, than fat shaming. In my experience, it's always like, put a shirt on. Can you eat that on your diet? It's always these little one-liners. It's like yeah, I can. Like, dude, I'd love to show you.
I had friends that like anytime we go out to eat, I'm like, okay, well, why don't we go here, because it's got some options that I can actually eat. And you know, one of my friends in particular always gives me shit for that. It's like, dude, I'm trying to do better with my life. Why is that not okay? And why aren't you know, like, I'm not over here saying, oh, you shouldn't be eating that Big Mac.
Never.
Or you know, why are you over here eating these fried chicken wings? Yep. No, it's like I look at it and I want to throw up in my mouth because I realize what that does to your body. Sure. But you know, I'm over here making the healthy choices, yet I'm the asshole because I want to eat well. Yeah. I don't want to go someplace that's going to make me feel like shit.
And that's what's so crazy is I think there's so many phases of all of that. There is you can I mean, we had pizza the other night, like last night at camping, where there's a pizza joint around the corner. We ordered pizza. I smashed pizza shamelessly.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a lifestyle, there's a balance, there's a routine, there's a structure to it. It's like, but we didn't keep it going. Here's what's different. It's like the pizza was Wednesday night, and we came home Thursday. And it's like, came home Thursday, cooked some protein, got right back on the meal plan. Didn't wait till Monday.
Yeah.
It's like we just said, okay, cool. Normally we do pizza nights Fridays. Well, today we're gonna do it on Wednesday. Whatever.
Cool.
And
adapt.
And there's so many like healthy alternatives
Friday.
too. And I think a lot of people they think of dieting and they think of all these things, and it's like these old like 90s terminology. And I'm so anti-diet, it's disgusting. Like, don't want any part of salads. I don't want any part of your being hangry and like irritable. Like, no. If that's what you're doing, like, no, like, you shouldn't do that because that's not sustainable. That is short-term diet. Like, it's like I want to teach you how to do a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's
how
a
to
lifestyle shift.
Get
it's not
and keep results.
It's eating a good diet.
Yeah,
it's not dieting, right? Like I had somebody tell me that the other day.
Eating
well, I've done the
diet.
dieting, and it lasted lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, well, that's your problem. You lost too much weight.
Yep.
Right. Like you're 6'2". You should be 165 pounds. Yeah. It's time to eat just change the lifestyle, change what you're eating. Like when I go out to eat, I'm ordering chicken or rice, but it's prepared better. Or, maybe I am having a big burger. It depends on the day. If it's a Friday, we're going out to eat with friends, maybe having a couple of drinks, hanging out. Hell yeah, I'm ordering a big ass bacon cheeseburger.
Right.
Give me that. Slap some peanut butter on that thing. Over easy egg. Oh, we're talking now. But day to day, I eat well, and usually I'm probably in a slight caloric deficit. So that when I do want to do that, it's actually good for my body. It's a refeed. Right. It gives me a little more energy. The next day's workout, crush that. So it's just a lifestyle shift. It's eating. It's changing how you view food. Yeah. It's not I'm eating for pleasure. It's I'm eating for fuel. And you're not going to eat shit for fuel. I'm not going to get in a Big Mac if I want to perform well. And I think that's where, all the like CrossFit, for example, it's great because you want to perform better because it is competitive, and you want to beat the next guy next to you. And the sad thing is, here comes the humbling part, guys. You meet somebody like Rich Froning, and you realize you'll never be that good at CrossFit, never. But you're going to try to get better to beat at least the guys in your gym.
Right. And that's what's interesting is like people. I've come to find that usually most people eat about the same 10 foods. Like, if you go look at your diet right now, you probably eat about 10 different foods. So like I eat this kind of beef, or I eat chicken, and I eat turkey, and I did right. And it's like, it's really that simple. It's like, just take the 10 you're eating currently and just swap them out for 10 that are a little bit healthy. I'm not saying you need to go stop everything you're doing and do a cold hard shift. No. Like, let's just make a shift, a little small right turn, a little pivot, and cut out the drive-through at breakfast and just make a couple eggs at home. Start there.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep it easy.
Yeah.
And then that builds the habits and the disciplines and the lifestyle. It's like, dang, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, this isn't theory. This is my story. 12 years ago, right? It's like, I was feeling like junk. Yeah. It's like, what am I doing? I'm drinking all the time, I'm eating fast food all the time, I'm eating break room food all the time. I was like, well, maybe if I just stopped drinking, boom, huge shift. Maybe if I stopped the donuts, huge shift. It's like, okay, now I've got energy. Yeah. See, I'm going to work out. Oh. Now we're starting to work out. It's like, look at this little muscle here. Where did that guy come from? Now I'm going to start fueling that thing.
Isn't it interesting, too, how when you fuel the body appropriately, the body wants to do more. It wants to, it wants to be, reproductive. It wants to
productive,
reproductive,
both.
Yeah, all of the above.
Right,
like that's the thing is like it's amazing how the body shuts down when you treat it like shit. Like you eat like a fat ass. Yeah. Your body doesn't want to reproduce or produce. You're going to be less attractive. Yep. You're going to be your endorphins are off, or not Well, I mean those two, but your pheromones are off. You may have hormonal issues. Which may lead to reproductive issues, but when you dial all that back in, no matter how old you are, all of that changes, and then the body wants to do more. And it can do more. It wants to be productive and also reproductive, and it wants to the hormone levels increase, your energy levels increase. It's just a domino effect. You start one place. My brother was telling me this the other day. He just wanted to get more disciplined. He started in the gym, and then that led to nutrition because he wanted to just be more disciplined, feel better, recover better, have a little more energy, right? And then that led to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And it just keeps going. Yeah, it's a waterfall. It's like, don't just change your whole life overnight, in a second. Some crazies that works, but most of the time that's going to lead to the story. I did that for a couple months. I died. It's like, no. You need a sustainable shift. Yeah. So where do you think men, or what do men lack the most today?
community, brotherhood, a place of belonging. I think men inherently need to prove themselves. I think that's one of the foundational things that we've gotten so far away from. We chatted about it earlier. It's just like men need to be in a space to where they can be a worthy member of a tribe.
Yeah.
And how that was done, whatever, hundreds of thousands of years ago, was like hunting and fighting and providing and servicing.
Passages.
And it's like, yeah, rites of passage, 100%. So it's like all of these things. Well, we don't have to do any of those anymore. You can go sit in your cubicle, look at your blue screen all freaking day, and go home. And you can eat ho-hos, and that's life.
Not to mention, how do those habits get built? Because most of those people, no offense, Braden, go to college.
Yeah.
Right? he's back here doing this. He gets it. No, they go to college. And what did they taught in college?
Yeah.
Party hard, drink hard, sleep with whoever, maybe go to class, no direction. Oh, well, maybe I'll just do this because I got to get a degree in something. And then they go $100,000 in debt. And then they come out and they need to take that 9-to-5 job because they got that debt to pay off. It's a trap. It's a fucking trap. Man. Yeah, you get away from that. I'm not saying college is bad, guys. It does serve a purpose, right? But
what's interesting is the generation that brought us up, that was like, because so their parents, right? Their parents, our grandparents. I mean, my grandpa was born right before the Great Depression, so it's like our grandparents were talking to my parents about, you got to get to college. It's unbelievable. It's the land of opportunity. This is where your life can get changed. You'll provide for your family. And then it got so corporatized and profitable, and it became its own business model inside of the United States, which is insane itself.
Not to mention our school system was designed off the Prussian education system.
That's a rabbit hole we can go down.
Fucking story, man. That, whoo. Looking forward to having Matt Bedreau on. He'll dive into that, I'm sure, a little bit more.
That'll be good.
Well, and it's something that Kyle and I are a part of now is this Apogee program. Right. And Apogee, Matt's coming on soon. If you want to hear his podcast with Nick Bear, it's also a great one. Shout out to both of you guys. It discusses education system and how, the whole thing needs to be revamped because it's not doing good things. All it does is teach you how to be a cog in the wheel. And again, not to say being a doctor, being a lawyer, it does serve a purpose for certain career fields. But if you don't know what you want to do with your life, go serve. Go in the military. Go join Greenpeace. Go travel. Go do something. But going back to everything else, when men don't know what to do, just do something. Just do something. Take action. Do something, right?
100%.
Yeah. So if men lack community and rites of passage and all that, how do you inspire men to get out of their comfort zone and do hard things?
It's freaking hard. Still trying to crack that egg, right? Myself, of figuring that out. It's like, it's through showing, in my opinion. Like, you show them what they can have. And I've been in this interesting journey of, like, you've got a lot of people that are very successful that will just kind of straight up just yell at you and tell you that you're a piece of shit and you need to get better, and that works really great. Now, it is a language that works for me.
I love that language.
Yes,
right. That's my love language. Cuss me out and tell me I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
Thank you, Jesse Pimentel, for the years of when I was 25. Anyway,
you get to meet him this weekend. I'm so freaking stoked. By the time this airs, I'll come back and let you know.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But yeah, it's like so there's that, and then there's Matt, for example, who is very much not that. He's very soft-spoken, but he's very matter-of-fact, but he's very respectful, he's very honorable. He's very, and it's just like that also speaks very well to me. So it's like, I'm just trying to figure out, coming from Sergeant Ingle, who was just like, no, like, listen, here's what you're going to freaking do. You're going to do it right now. You shouldn't question it because look at you. You're freaking disgusting slob. Like, listen, right? It's like you're going from that perspective to like, hey, man, and you just talk to him as a respectable person, a respectable man. That's a huge thing a lot of people don't realize. And once that clicked for me, it's like guys just want to be respected. And a lot of the times, unfortunately, they find respect through things that don't inherently necessarily like need to earn it, through like trivial
how much they
things,
drink, right?
Like fantasy football and just like all these things. And it's like,
don't even get me started on fantasy football, man. Anyways,
I've never done any of that, right? It's just like, or you can come into a gym and you can be welcomed with open arms despite what you think, and you can be cheered on.
Face-to-face interaction with people.
And you can, and like all of a sudden, like you've got some friends, and all of a sudden you're coming to the gym's cookout, and then you're showing up to this, and it's just like, look, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be anything amazing, but if you can get a little bit better every single day for yourself, then you're going to show up better for your family, you're going to show up better for your wife, you're going to show up better for your kids, you're going to show up better at work, and you're making a little bit more money because you're showing up better at work. Bob's showing up at 6:55 every morning. He's not showing up at 7:05 anymore. What's going on with Bob? You got a little pep step in his step.
Okay.
Nobody else does.
Yeah.
Who are they noticing when it comes time for promotions and raises? All because you started to work out, started dialing in nutrition. Now you're making more money. Now you're taking a little bit more vacations.
Yep.
Now you got more time. Like it just literally compounds over time into a designed life. You don't have to go be an entrepreneur like we are. Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah. Go do whatever you want to do, but why not do it to the best of your ability instead of being a liability for your company? Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest things when we came into our company. It was just like, how can I be the greatest asset for like my manager, my person in charge of me? Like, how can I be the greatest asset to them and provide them the most value? Because I know by doing so, I'm going to rise. Because rising tides raise all ships. It's like if I can help him win and grow, I'm going to be right along with him by his side. He's going to take me right along with him. And that's how it went. Yeah. A lot of extra hours, a lot of extra work, a lot of self-development. You don't get paid for reading books and listening to podcasts and growing your capacity and anything like that. But it's like...
you know, it's funny that you don't get paid for it, but you do.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Exactly.
Because whether your lifestyle changes, your mindset changes, your finances will change the more you read. Yeah. The more you develop yourself. You know, like... right now in Apogee, we got 2 books a month to read or something like that, and I mean, that pours into your life. Don't stop educating yourself. You know, so many people, the last book they read is in college. Maybe. I mean, I didn't start reading until I got into my like mid-20s. Right. But now I continue seeking that out. I want more. I want to just get better at life, and I want to go out there and live life to its fullest. And
you can get paid financially, right? Especially as an entrepreneur. That is the benefit. Entrepreneur, you get paid financially for learning more things and being able to apply them. Right. But also, like let's detract. Like, let's get out of the entrepreneur world. Just look at average Joe who's working as an accountant or whatever, and it's like, well, if you go learn some things, you can now teach your kids these things. Circling all the way back to the beginning of the podcast, it's like, that's so overlooked. Is the greatest gift you can give your kids is your ability to continue to learn and then teach them. If you and I learn something in our 30s, it's like, dang, like that's really great, right? Because kids don't lack capacity, they lack a teacher. So then we can go teach our kids that at 9, at 7, at 12. It took me 33 years to learn that, and now my kid knows it at 12. What's that projection putting him on? And it's not just like I teach him like, okay, here's how you open this can. Right. It's like, here's why. You see these ledges here. This is what is perforated. You teach them the why behind it, and then they get it. Versus just like, I don't know, Dad did this like thing, and they've got the twisted the wrong way, right? Because they don't know. It's like you teach them all of the intricacies inside of this, and you take a little extra time to teach them how to cook the food when they ask for it. You show them that stuff, and then you do it once, and it's done. Yeah. I don't ever have to teach little Johnny how to open up a Jocko Go.
They absorb fast.
100%.
Like, the amount you can learn at that age, like that's the other thing is, I didn't have anybody teaching me that stuff when I was young, and I'm like, I want to teach my son these things. I want to teach my daughter these things, because if they're learning it now, as you said, like it sets them so much further ahead, because they also are able to absorb so much more now. Have you tried learning something in your 30s? How much longer does it take at this age to learn? And not that we're old, but like, how much longer does it take to learn something? I can read something 10 times and still not remember it sometimes, and it's, now if it applies, different story, but like, at that age, it's like you absorb everything in. You're willing to do things that are more uncomfortable at that age too. And as you age, it is harder to do uncomfortable things, right? Because you do develop comfort, and you do develop complacency, and you gotta fight that. Being content is not bad, but being complacent and comfortable is. If you're not in pain in some way, shape, or form, you probably should find some. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's getting hot in here, isn't it?
I'm good.
You're sweating.
Nah, man. Crank the pan up a little bit.
I was sweating at the beginning, and now I've cooled off, and now you're over here sweating.
I'm thinking about sweating.
Oh yeah, you can't
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Part of the design process to this podcast studio was it's mental fortitude. So we're just mentally grinding people down in here with heat now.
They're just locked in and focused still. No factor. Yeah. Let's run it.
Let's go. Well, Kyle, this has been a great conversation. We'll definitely do this again. But where can people find you, learn more about what you do, all that?
Yeah, Instagram, number one spot for sure.
Insta.
You cannot have a little button you push. Insta. No, Instagram. It's super simple name. It's its.manimal, Manimal.
What's your wife's too? Because I love her. You like your guys' Instagram handles together are awesome.
Yeah, hers is I am a warrior. Her WARIHER warrior.
That's funny.
Those are earned names. The Manimal, it's an earned name. We can share it on the next podcast or something. But
ooh,
it was a good time.
I want to hear about that story next.
2 different continents earned that name.
Well, just share the story now. We got time. Let's just go.
Yeah. So the first time was in Korea. When I was 19 years old, we were going on what's called a spur ride in the Scouts. Cavalry Scouts back in the day rode horses. We obviously don't ride horses anymore.
They still call it a spur ride?
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yep. So we went on what's called a spur ride, which is just it's just a haze event pretty much. Mm-hmm. It's just for an extended period of time. You don't know when it's going to last, when it's going to end, anything like that, what's going to happen during this duration. You just start, you get signed up and you start, and all of the non-commissioned officers, all of the guys that outrank you that have their spurs then lead that spur ride.
Okay.
And it's just a haze, rites of passage, gritty, nasty, no sleep. You're walking forever. You're carrying a bunch of weight. You're rolling through the mud, crawling through the mud. You're providing triage and casualty treatment on simulations, and people are yelling at you the whole time, and all of this amazing stuff that we love, right? Mm-hmm. And for duration of period. So that's the first time I was in Korea during a spur ride. We had these 2 jerry cans, like big 5-gallon jugs of water that go in the back of Jeeps or whatever, full of water. Everybody had one in our platoon, plus your rucksack, and we had one guy that was not able to carry it. We had to go up this what's called Kamo Hill in Korea. It's just a winding loop up to the top of this hill, and there's a communications tower up there. It's the highest point in the area. We had to walk up Kamo Hill, walk back down, and then the end line, they told us, like, then you're done. You walk to the barracks right over here, and then that's going to be the end of the spur ride. And we're like, okay, cool. And Briner was falling out, and he wasn't going to last. He's a skinny little dude, and we're carrying a lot of weight for an extended period of time. We're all soaking wet, covered in mud. It's rainy monsoon season in Korea. And Briner's, you can just see it in his face, like, dude ain't going to make it. And one of the NCOs came over and said, hey, like, just so you guys know, because there's several platoons that do this, right? It's not just like one big group of people. You're broken up into 20-man groups or whatever. You guys are the only ones without anybody that nobody's fallen out yet. Nobody's quit. And we're just like, shit. We're on the last event. And so it's like, okay, leadership pops in. It's just like, okay, you take his ruck. I took the jerry cans and walked him up the hill. And then 2 dudes, one under each Briner was on each of their arms like this, carried his ass up Kamo Hill. And I'm up front with these 5-gallon jugs. And our first sergeant's like, Ingle, bet you can't make it to the top without dropping them things. And I mean, 5 gallons of water is fucking heavy.
What is it per pound? Or per, isn't it like 10 pounds a gallon or something?
I don't even know. It was too much. But it was like challenge, right? Challenge accepted, like roger that. And so got up to the top, dropped them down. Briner gets up there getting carried. And then we didn't have to carry the water jugs back, which is great.
Thank God.
So dropped those. Right. I threw his ruck on the front of me. I had my ruck on the back. They're carrying him, his rifle, all the stuff. So we get to the finish line, and someone's like, Ingle, you're a fucking manimal. And so then it was like the murmurings of it, and like they got like memes and stuff that made it different memes, whatever.
That's great.
So that was the first time. Then I earned it again in Colorado. I don't even remember what I was doing in Fort Carson. Did something stupid.
You were located in Fort Carson?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we're going next week.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. Jesse is, but he's got to do an in-vets thing out at Fort Carson, which is the reason we're going out to hike a mountain next week.
Colorado was amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that was the tale of Manimal.
2 continents.
So it's like, what do you? Korea and North America. So what is it? Asia. 80. I graduated 84 out of 127. I don't know what continent that was.
Really? Yeah.
Bottom of the barrel. Over there and.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So it's Manimal, and then website, anything?
No, just Instagram's the spot. Yep, sliding on the DMs. That's what dudes do, man. It's like I can do a call to action on a post. Hey, drop a comment, drop an emoji if you're ready to get in the best shape of your life. Nothing. But my DMs are dink. Hey, man. It's pride. It's ego. It's fine. I know what to expect.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. It's like, look, I'm not going to do anything. Just hit me in the DMs.
Slide into my DMs.
Make it easy.
Bro.
Let's work this thing out and get you jacked.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, we'll do this again. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Love it.
And I'll see you, tomorrow, but Monday morning, too, it sounds like.
Game on.
The game on. All right. Cool, man. Appreciate you being on.
Yes, sir.